Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. Today our show is Osteogenesis Imperfecta. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Dance. Today our show is Osteogenesis Imperfecta, and we have an active board member with us, Randy Grace of Randale Enterprise. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Marsha. How are you? Good to see you again, too. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Randy, you know, we normally, when you come to see us, you come to see us about motivational speaking, upcoming events, or something beautiful that's going on in the community or in the state of Michigan.
Sure.
But today you're here to speak about the Osteogenesis Imperfecta condition. Okay, now tell us what is Osteogenesis Imperfecta and a little bit of history on it.
Sure. Osteogenesis Imperfecta is a genetic bone disease. And I don't want to get into a real clinical discussion, but basically it's caused when there is a mutation in the gene that produces type 1 collagen. And collagen is the element of the bone that, element of the body that's sort of like the structure of a building. Without that type 1 collagen in the skeletal matter, then the bones become very brittle. And so that's what osteogenesis actually is, a basic brittle bone disorder.
Okay, so is that why you hear a lot of people use the term brittle bone disease?
Right, that's right. In fact, brittle bone disease is a lot easier than saying osteogenesis imperfecta. You did well. You did very well with it. Most of us just call it OI for short, so you can say OI.
Okay, OI. So OI stands for osteogenesis imperfecta.
Right, absolutely.
And then another short term to it is brittle bone disease. Okay. Now, now I know that that's the condition that you have, correct?
Right.
Okay. And by being an active board member, today you want to tell us what?
Well, basically, we want to make sure that the community is aware of a couple of different things. Because we found as a foundation, again, being a board member, I'm a board member of the National Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation, and that's the primary resource for information about the disorder. Okay. And what we are finding is that a lot of times folks in the community aren't aware of the disease because it's so rare. There's only about 20,000 to 50,000 people that have it. We know of 20, but there could be as many as 50,000 people that have it. So since I know that you're doing such a great job with Just Ask, thinking about the disability community, I'm thinking this is a great way to get the word out about the condition as well as the foundation and let people know that it's there to support them.
Okay, now is there a cure for this condition at all?
No, not right now. There is no cure. We're doing a lot of research, of course, to sort of find a cure for OI, but at this time the best we can do is try to treat it. And treatments can go from anything from something as severe as, or I shouldn't say severe, but something as significant as surgery, using rodding techniques, putting rods next to the bone, or actually just exercising and conditioning to sort of strengthen the body to resist fracturing.
Okay, but parenting at the level that a parent discovers that their child has OI, are they allowed to still, practically act with the child as though the walking, the playing, the running, or is there a difference in the child rearing?
That's a good question. There's actually 4 types of OI. We have type 1, which is the most, I should say, the most significant type of osteogenesis imperfecta. And then you have type 2, which is a more mild form of OI. And then there's type 3, and type 3 is really more mine. It's sort of like the in-between of type 1 and type 2. So it really depends, and type 4 is just sort of where there's traces of osteogenesis imperfecta. But the reality is, depending on what type of OI the patient or the person has when they're born, that makes a difference on how the parents rear the child, how they handle the child and help the child develop as he or she grows.
Now, is that a discovery upon birth, though, that the child has OI, or that's something that if the parent notices that the child is not developing in the 6th month of age or something like that? Because, normally when you're first born, you look healthy, child looks good. What is the signs or side effects that let a parent know I need to take my baby in and see what's going on?
First thing is the broken bones. I myself, when I was born, I had 2 broken legs and a broken arm, and my head was disfigured, and I think there was actually a small hole in my head as well. So broken bones are the primary characteristic of the disorder. And also, even if the child isn't born with broken bones, a lot of times children are brought to the hospitals with fractures that are unexplainable. The child may be brought in because he or she fell, and the parents are dealing with this intense crying, and the doctors say, well, this child has a broken arm, and then there's all the issues of what about the safety of the home, and then parents are sometimes accused of child abuse.
Right.
And so there are different things that let folks know along the way that a child may have osteogenesis imperfecta.
Okay, but your parents knew upon delivery.
Well, we knew that there was the disorder, but I was born in Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1967.
Okay,
and
all
back
right.
in Vicksburg in 67, there wasn't a whole lot of talk of OI back then. I actually was diagnosed here in Michigan at Children's Hospital of Michigan
Okay.
when we moved to Michigan about a year or so later after I was born.
Okay, okay. Well, I tell you what, I know one thing, you're so knowledgeable in this information. I know that not only when you speak upon this issue here about OI, just your deliverance of information, period, to address our community about working along with persons with disabilities and workshops and trying to incorporate companies to understand that,
Sure.
you know, working with the person with the disability is not a difficult thing to do.
Right,
Okay?
absolutely.
So, you know, and it's important that people understand that, you know, I mean, we're all born different in the first place. We might look the same somewhat or another, but we're all really born different. So your representation for this program here today, Osteogenesis Imperfecta, is well worth it because,
you.
you know, we
Appreciate
wouldn't know. And now let me ask you this before we go to commercial break. Is there a confusion between OI and dwarfism or what they call little people syndrome or anything like that?
Often people will associate one with the other, but they're very different circumstances and situations. A person could have OI and be of average height. So OI does not necessarily mean that there will be dwarfism. And just because there's dwarfism, it doesn't mean that there's a case of osteogenesis. So they're really 2 very distinct different situations.
Okay, okay. Because I don't want our public to think that every time they see
A little person, right.
that they gotta have that condition or
No,
this and that.
unless they're lucky enough like me to just be both. A little person with OI.
Okay,
Right.
okay. Well, you know, and the thing of it is, though, Randy, when you're talking about little people, little persons, however they want to be addressed, that doesn't mean that they have to have a health condition other than the fact that they're
That's dwarfism. That's right. You're absolutely right. And being a person who is of short stature, that is just something you adjust to. It's more of an environmental thing. And of course, there's something about the body that causes dwarfism, but just because there is dwarfism, there doesn't mean that that person has significant medical trauma.
Right.
It doesn't mean there's so many treatments they have to go through. A person could have a dwarfism and go through their life just like you do or any average height individual.
Yep, and you know, and that's why I'm glad you're here to clear that up for our viewers, because we don't want people to think that every time you see somebody it's one or the other, or
That's
you gotta
right.
have a combination of both.
That's right,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with some more good information of osteogenesis imperfecta. We'll be right back.
My nerves stand on end, my palms sweat, and everything's a blur. The rush is so intense. All I want to do is get even higher.
Andrea Moretti is under the influence of her local teen center volunteer. Each month, she helps Andrea stay on top of the world and off drugs. Be a coach, a mentor, a volunteer, because you have something to offer.
And welcome back to the show. For those of you who are just now joining us, we have Randy Grace of Randale Enterprise here today to talk to us about osteogenesis imperfecta. Now, Randy, let me get to one of the main questions. How has this condition, is it called condition or disease? Which one is it labeled under? I don't want to make the mistake.
Quite often we refer to it as a condition or
Okay.
a bone condition, but that's fine.
Okay. How has this condition affected your life?
Well, primarily it's been the broken bones and being a wheelchair user. That's the most impact osteogenesis has had on me. I've never been able to walk. I've always been a wheelchair user since I was 4 years old.
Okay.
And prior to being 4, quite often I would be carried around in my earliest years of life, up to, let's say, a year old. I was carried on a pillow. And that's, again, because my bones were so fragile. But as I've grown older, I've grown a bit stronger. But that's most of the impact OI has had on me, being a wheelchair user and basically being a person with short stature.
Okay. Now, what kind of exercises, if any, can a person with OI do?
That's a great question. Because of the delicacy of the bone, we found through research the most effective way to exercise a child or a person with OI is through swimming, because it's no impact. It offers the right amount of resistance where one could build muscle. And again, it doesn't put any pressure on the bones. So one who can swim is getting the best amount of exercise, or best kind of exercise he or she can get with OI.
Okay.
In fact, I need to get back in the water now that I'm thinking about it. So we better move on to another topic.
Okay. Well. So what kind of advice would you give a parent that's raising a OI child?
And laughing about exercise, really, it's interesting because the foundation has just produced a book for parents that are raising children with OI, and they can go to the website www.oif.org, and they can order the book from the website for about $10, and that provides strategies for raising healthy babies with osteogenesis imperfecta. So that's a great resource there for parents.
Okay. Now, what's that website again? Because we're going to add that into the screen, but what's the website?
The website is www.oif.org.
Okay. And, because I'm sure there are parents, anywhere, it could be Michigan, it could be out beyond us, but have a child with this condition and, is probably confused about what to do, and study running to the physician. What do I do? What do I need to do? And the physician doesn't necessarily have all the answers.
Right.
Okay. Right. So this foundation itself will educate the parent well enough to know what to do.
Absolutely.
With this child. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure as a child, were you pretty active as a child, like running and playing and trying to do things like it normal?
I got into my share of mischief.
Okay.
No, I've had a very good life. It comes from having parents, or my father died when I was 3, but my mom was very good at taking healthy risks with me. She knew the need for me to be protected and taken care of, but at the same time, she also valued the diversity of activity as opposed to managing a very monitored and controlled lifestyle. So I've done well as a person growing with OI.
Okay. So what about the medical community? Is there a lot of support from the medical community, or educational pieces available?
It's growing. Right now we're growing. We have, as a matter of fact, some of our brochures here, we actually have at the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation a brochure specifically for those who are parenting or dealing with the medical community. And there's some advice for medical professionals actually in the brochure. Again, not to reverberate too much, but the foundation's website, www.oif.org, is really a great resource for medical persons as it relates to dealing with the bone structure, even as it relates to dealing with dentistry, because osteogenesis imperfecta often affects a person's teeth, because teeth are made of bone. And so with that being the case, even dentists find our website and our organization a great resource for getting information.
Do you need to go to a particular type of dentist? Or do you have to notify your dentist and tell him or her that you have this condition so they don't know what to do or how to do it properly?
Absolutely. There are no dentists that specialize in dealing with persons with osteogenesis. Or we have identified a condition known as Dentinogenesis Imperfecta, which is basically a dental version of OI. But with there being no specialists, it's all about bringing the resources together. And the foundation is a great resource for making sure that people network and professionals have a resource for pooling their ideas together.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the dentistry part, because I would have never thought about teeth dealing with the condition itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and knowing that our dentistry has come up quite a bit in the state of the art of its materials to use these days.
Sure.
You could tell a person, don't be afraid to go to the dentist. They don't hurt you anymore. They'll put you to sleep. They'll give you gas, whatever. There's so many things, devices, and state of the art types of equipment being used in dentistry. You think it's almost pain-proof, but you have to know specifically if a person has a health condition that will cause them to have some other type of services or additional treatment.
And I like the way you present that, because one of the most important things I try to do when I'm dealing with parents or persons who are helping folks with osteogenesis or any disability is giving people the idea that they need to be advocates for themselves. They need to be self-advocates. They need to not necessarily trust that the medical professional is going to have all the answers, because the dentist that I go to today is a great dentist, but she's not very, very familiar with Dentinogenesis Imperfecta. And so a great thing that we did was we put her together with dentists in the pool of resources we have at Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation, and she's growing and she's learning as a professional. So it's about teamwork. It's about creating the right support team.
I know that the Diabetes Foundation rather, has to educate persons with diabetes to prepare their dentists. That, hey, you can't just go in here and take a tooth out.
That's right.
I may bleed to death or whatever
right.
have you. So the dentistry organization or foundation should be well aware of what the type of conditions a client should have, if they have any, before they say, oh, you need some dental work.
That's right.
It's one thing to
we'll just take that tooth out.
Right.
Yeah,
It's one thing to need dental work, but what is the health crisis here that we have to know about?
That's correct.
I mean, like my dentist, she's excellent. Notice we said she's. So my dentist,
we may have the same dentist.
Right. My dentist is excellent as far as I'm concerned, and she knows I'm hearing impaired. So with me, like they have the TV on and everything, and I never really watch TV, but when she has the TV on, it's in caption.
Awesome.
So I'm thinking to myself, if you want me to enjoy this relaxation here while you're tinkering, then I need to read it in caption. I can't just listen because there's nothing for me hardly to hear.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to concentrate on what she's asking me to do, turn left, turn right, or whatever. So they're very conscious of their patients' well-being in the dentistry industry, and I think that's important. The parents and adults who have health conditions of any kind.
Right.
You should educate your dentists, your physical fitness trainers, whoever you're dealing with on your condition.
Nutritionists.
Right, nutritionists, so that they won't just assume that you're a everyday Jane John. That, okay, well, I'm going to train you, and you might have some conditions that will warrant you not to be trained as such.
That's right, and they value that information because it helps them grow as a professional, so that's a good thing for them as well.
Okay, because I realize we did a show with a special gym that relates to persons with disabilities, and all their trainers had to have training, special ed training in physical fitness, and had to have medical training for training the person with a condition. You couldn't just go and say, I'm a physical fitness trainer. You had to have sports medicine training, and be certified. And I think that's important because you never know. The weights and all those things, a person say, I'm coming in. So all wheelchair users don't necessarily mean that you can just pick up a dumbbell or all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because that's one thing I don't do. With osteogenesis imperfecta, awkward movements could create a fracture. Picking up something in an awkward position or holding it the wrong way, it doesn't have to be a lot of pressure or a sudden impact that could cause a fracture. So even lifting a weight could be a problem for a person with OI especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure after today we have enlightened and knowledged a lot of people about osteogenesis, and the next generation of young people who come about with this condition should be well educated to know that they can work and do business as such without fearing that they're going to be considered, oh no, just get on SSI, just get,
Right, absolutely.
You just want to okay, I understand I can get some money, but it would be nice if I can earn my own.
Absolutely. And real quickly, I just wanted to mention that we also have created an OI registry for families of persons with osteogenesis imperfecta. And one of the benefits of being a part of the registry, it's all voluntary, strictly confidential. It gives persons an opportunity to put themselves in a database so they could get the latest information and research about osteogenesis, so that even as we're learning as a foundation, the community can learn as well.
Now, with all this good information, is there a 800 number?
Absolutely, absolutely. The 800 number is, in fact, I don't want to try to give it out loud. I might misprint it or misquote it. I know it's 800. In fact, we have it right on our brochure right here.
Okay.
800-981-2663 is the actual toll-free number for the OI Foundation.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely air that as well.
Okay.
Well, we're going to take another break and come back with some more helpful information on osteogenesis imperfecta. We'll be right back.
Our opponents today, Katie is 9 months pregnant, and Jenny's about 8.5. Balance could be an issue here, but both women are strong competitors. Moving their feet quickly on top of the lawn, trying to dislodge their opponent with quick maneuvers. Western Red Cedar is very explosive.
Recent studies show babies who are breastfed are less likely to develop ear infections, respiratory illnesses, and diarrhea. Babies were born to be breastfed. .
And welcome back to the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end of this wonderful piece of information about osteogenesis imperfecta with Randy Gray. So I'm hoping that you all who are viewing this show, if you know somebody or have a child with this rare condition, give us a call, or actually call the 800 number that Randy has given us, or go online to the website and get some more contact information from the website. So I'm going to ask Randy a quick question about the registry. Now, Randy, you said something about the registry earlier for OI. What would the registry do for a person, or what kind of information would they get?
Great, thank you. The registry, again, is designed to just sort of have a resource online that's going to put all the professionals and as well as the families in the community of persons with OI together, giving us an opportunity to be able to collect data and sort of work towards finding a cure for osteogenesis imperfecta. Again, it's strictly voluntary and, of course, strictly confidential. Families go online and they register their persons with OI on the registry, and again, it allows them to not only be able to give information, but they get information back as well. It keeps them in the loop as to the development of information, and as we move towards finding a cure, they'll be some of the first to know as members of the registry.
Okay. Now, is there any type of funding date or something that, you know, the parents and families can get together to connect, like a connection type of event? Well, do you have such a thing?
We do. We have our own Michigan network. In fact, there are networking groups all across the country for persons with OI, and we have one in Michigan. And if individuals are interested in getting information about the Michigan network group, they can contact the foundation, or they can send me an email, and I'll give you my email address as rgrays@randell.com.
Okay.
And my website address is www.randel.com. And I'll be more than happy to share information about the Michigan network group.
Okay, we'll put on it. Now, you know, did I ever ask you in particular, as a board member, what do you do? I mean, you're the, what is your title there?
As a person, I'm on the board of directors for the foundation.
Board of directors, okay.
And with many nonprofits, as most nonprofits, there's usually a board that sort of oversees and works with the actual operations staff. As persons from the community with the condition and persons that don't have the condition as well, we come together and make sure that the mission is upheld of the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation. And we're also responsible for helping raising funds, because we know it takes money to find a cure. To do anything, it takes money. So as a board member, that's part of my responsibility too, to help create awareness, raise funds, and make sure we move the mission of the foundation forward.
Okay, well, let the foundation president and the rest of the staff know that you're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
So when
Thank
this show airs, they'll know. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you before we close about some of these brochures here. So this one, the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation. What information would a person get from this brochure? That's
one of the free brochures that's available to the community, and it just gives an idea of what the foundation does, how the foundation operates, and also what basic information about osteogenesis imperfecta will be found in that particular brochure. One of the first ones that we produce, but we're constantly working to update our material.
Okay. Okay. And this one here, the Breakthrough?
The Breakthrough. We're really proud of that. That's our quarterly newsletter. And that actually goes out to members of the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation, because a person could actually, through contribution, become a member of the foundation and receive that newsletter. Talks about upcoming events such as our biannual conference, talks about our latest research developments. This particular one talks about the newest development of our elite clinical research centers that we've put together.
Okay. So this is a nice thick book.
Yeah, lots of information in there.
Right. Okay, that's a good one. And this last one, Osteogenesis Imperfecta, a guide for medical professionals, individuals, families affected by OI.
That's a really neat one, because that particular brochure is really small, but it has a lot of good information because it separates fact from fiction about osteogenesis imperfecta. You'll see a few myths about the disorder as well as some corrective information, and also it talks about the various types. Again, I want to make sure I was clear earlier. Type 1 being the mildest form, type 2 being the most severe, type 3 being sort of in between, and so on. So all that's broken down in that particular brochure.
Okay. Well, you know what? We like to have this material on hand because somebody somewhere is going to call. Okay.
That's yours to keep.
Thank you. I mean, you're full of a wealth of information, not just from Randell Enterprise itself, but, this particular piece, we're really grateful to have you here to join us today to give us insight on that.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And thank you. And anytime I could be a part of Just Ask, please give me a buzz.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
I just love an invitation like that. Okay, let me ask you one question before we go, or wrap up rather. Is the foundation struggling to find information or supportive information for people to get the word out? Are there problems in the financial part or something dealing with how do people become active in being involved in a foundation such as this?
Well, just like any foundation or any nonprofit, funding is always an issue. We're constantly working to see how we could develop our funds and improve opportunities to develop research. But it's not just about research. There's always cost of operating the foundation. There's information and publications. So there's always the need for raising money. And any way that a person could make contribution, either through money or in kind, we're always grateful for those persons willing to contribute.
Okay, now the foundation is not here in Michigan.
No, it's in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Thank you for
Okay.
asking. It's the one national office with various representatives across the country.
Wow. Okay. So we got a 800 number for you guys, and since you don't know it by heart,
Right.
we're going to help you out. So it's 800-981-2663, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll actually have it flash across. You'll see it. Okay. But the website address is OIF.
.org, www.oif.org.
And ORG is the ORG one. Okay. And then if they want to speak to you in reference about it, they can contact you at
www.randel.com or give me a call at 248-827-7716.
Okay. That's a lot, but we got it. Okay. Well, I tell you, I mean, every time we do a show, we here at Just Ask learn a lot about, organizations, people themselves, medical information. I mean, from the show that we do with the chefs, the diabetic chefs, to people like yourself who are motivational speakers to motivate people to do well and to work and support one another. We are very, very much in touch with what goes on in the community, especially for the state of Michigan. And we really appreciate a person like
and
yourself.
we appreciate you. I mean, this is such a wonderful forum, and you do such a great job, Marsha. I mean, that's why whenever you call me, I'm always right there, because I always want to support Just Ask, because you do a great job for our community, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
He's going to bring tears to my eyes. Okay. Well, Randy, before we wrap up, is there anything we need to know that Randell Enterprise is into, or any upcoming events from the state of Michigan in relation to dealing with persons with disabilities or anything?
Well, again, we're always looking forward to our rehab conference that's coming up later in the year 2006. It's going to be in November, and we are always doing things at Randell Enterprises to try to grow information and resources for persons with disabilities. So visit the website. We're having updates on there all the time at randell.com, and that's a great way for persons to stay up to date.
So for those of you who are watching Just Ask, you know who I am. I'm your host, Marsha Florence, and what do I always say? If you know someone with a disability, don't be afraid to ask, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask that either. I'm your host, Marsha Florence. Thank you.